Oh, it's a good one. And hooked away for George. And it must be McLintock.
Some captains became legends. Frank McLintock became a silence. He didn't wave to crowds. He led them through fire. He didn't chase applause. He chased standards. Every match, every season. He didn't sell shirts. He built belief. League title, FA Cup, Arsenal's first double. He lifted it all. Then watched his name disappear. No mural, no statue, no chant. He gave them a backbone. They gave him silence. Not forgotten by time, forgotten by choice. But not here, not now, because before the names they chant, there was a man who held it all when no one else could. Frank McLintock, the captain they left behind. Subscribe if you believe some leaders deserve more than silence. They deserve justice. Born in Glasgow on 28 December 1939, raised in the Gorbals, a place where survival came before dreams. Frank McLintock grew up fighting for space, in the streets, in the silence, in the shadows of bigger names. As a teenager, he trialed at Celtic. They turned him down, said he wasn't strong enough, wasn't tall enough, wasn't what they needed. So he put the boots away and picked up metal. Factory work, grinding 12-hour shifts for pocket change, still watching the ball move in his mind. In 1956, everything changed. Leicester City gave him a chance. Manager Dave Halliday saw something Celtic didn't. He signed on as a wing half, somewhere between a tackler and a runner. Played without flair, played with fire. Over the next 8 seasons, he made 168 appearances, scored 26 goals, and became the heartbeat of a team that kept knocking on the door. He helped Leicester reach the FA Cup final in 1961. They lost to Tottenham, then again in 1963. This time to Manchester United. 2 chances, 2 heartbreaks, no medals. But inside the dressing room, teammates began to understand. McLintock wasn't just another squad player. He was the man who stayed standing when everything else cracked. By 1964, Arsenal came calling. They didn't buy his name, they bought his backbone. And that changed everything. In October 1964, Arsenal signed Frank McLintock from Leicester for a club record fee of £80,000. The board expected a leader, the fans expected a spark. What they got was a foundation. He arrived under manager Billy Wright, but the club was drifting. Arsenal had finished 8th, 13th, then 14th in the league. A side rich in history, but empty in direction. McLintock was shifted to centre half, a move many questioned. But he never blinked. His first seasons were turbulent. By 1965-66, Arsenal were 14th. In 1966-67, they managed 7th. But still no trophies. The mood was flat, the squad was unsettled. Then came Bertie Mee, a former physio, now manager, and everything began to change. In 1967, Mee handed McLintock the captain's armband. No speech, no press release, just quiet trust. He led a side that featured Charlie George, George Graham, Bob McNabb, Peter Storey, and a rising goalkeeper named Bob Wilson. McLintock didn't shout to be heard. He played in a way that made others follow. And slowly, Arsenal stopped bleeding points. They started defending as if something mattered again. This wasn't yet a title-winning team, but now they had a spine. By 1970, Arsenal had begun to rise. That year, they won the Intercities Fairs Cup, beating Anderlecht 4-3 on aggregate, their first ever European trophy, and the first crack in the drought. Frank McLintock lifted the cup in Brussels, but he wasn't satisfied. Then came 1970-71, the most iconic season in the club's history. Arsenal won the First Division title on enemy ground, White Hart Lane, after beating Tottenham 1-0. The winning goal came in the 88th minute, a header by Ray Kennedy, sealing Arsenal's first league title in a decade on their rivals' pitch. Then, they faced Liverpool in the FA Cup final, Wembley, 110,000 fans. McLintock led them into battle. After going 1-0 down in extra time, Arsenal roared back. Goals from Eddie Kelly and Charlie George sealed it. 2-1, Arsenal. I never felt truly accepted as a Scot because I played most of my football in England. McLintock, from True Grit, the double, league and cup. Same season, same captain. McLintock was everywhere. tackling, leading, holding everything together while history happened around him. He was named FWA Footballer of the Year and finished 22nd in the Ballon d'Or voting. A rare honor for a British defender. But there was no media frenzy, no marketing campaign, just a man holding silver with blood on his socks and silence in his eyes. And when the medals were handed out, there was still no statue. Not then, not now. In 1973, after 9 seasons, Arsenal let Frank McLintock go. No final match, no thank you banner, no words. He just captained their greatest triumph. But the club was moving on. He signed for Queen's Park Rangers, a modest side managed by Dave Sexton, featuring talents like Stan Bowles, Jerry Francis, and Don Givens. The lights were dimmer. The stage was smaller, but McLintock's intensity never dipped. QPR finished 11th in his first season, then climbed. By 1975-76, they stood on the brink. Second in the First Division, 1 point behind Liverpool. He had played their final match. Liverpool still had 1 game left. Against Wolves, they won 3-1 and snatched the title by a single point. McLintock had almost done it again. A second title with a second club as the oldest player in the Ekblij. He made 127 appearances, scored once, and retired in 1977. Aged 37. No testimonial. No farewell. Just a career closed quietly. Like it was never supposed to matter. But every teammate walked off the pitch knowing who had held them up. Frank McLintock gave everything to English football, but his own country barely called his name. Between 1963 and 1971, he earned just 9 caps for Scotland. 9. He made his debut against England in the British Home Championship, held his own, expected more. But the call-ups came slow, and the trust came slower. In 1967, he should have started the iconic 3-2 win at Wembley, when Scotland declared themselves unofficial world champions. He watched from the sidelines. They preferred flair, chose ball players over backbone. Players like Billy Bremner and John Greig were regulars. McLintock was considered too rigid, too defensive, too English, some said, because of how deeply he served Arsenal. Bob Wilson later said, "Frank didn't lead by shouting, he led by being the one you didn't want to disappoint." But what Scotland needed was what he was made of: organization, discipline, silence under pressure. They overlooked the man who made chaos manageable. No World Cup, no major tournament, no national redemption, just one more team that never saw what they had. After hanging up his boots in 1977, Frank McLintock moved straight to the sidelines. He returned to his first club, Leicester City, this time as manager. From 1977 to 1981, he led them through the second division. It wasn't easy, the club was in flux, promotion never came. He gave it 4 years, then walked away, not bitter, just finished. He didn't chase another job. He didn't need to prove himself. Instead, he picked up a microphone. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, he became a familiar voice on BBC, then later on Sky Sports. He wasn't a media man. He didn't smile for the cameras. He spoke the way he played. Honest, direct, no sugar, no gimmicks, no shouting matches, just football as it was. Fans listened because they knew he wasn't selling anything. He was telling it straight, and in a world full of noise, his silence still carried weight. Arsenal remember their greats: Tony Adams, Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry. Their names echo across the Emirates. Statues, banners, highlights played on loop. But before them, before the glory, before Arsenal believed they could win anything, Frank McLintock was there. He told it himself in True Grit, published in 2005. Decades after the noise had faded, he was the first to lift a European trophy, the first to lead them to the double. The captain before the culture, no mural, no bronze, no official chant. His name sits in the archives, not the anthem. And yet, without him, there is no winning identity. In 1972, he was awarded an MBE for services to football. Years later, Arsenal would add his name to their Hall of Fame. Quietly, without ceremony. But that wall wasn't where he needed to be. He belonged in the chants. Years later, Leicester would quietly induct him into their Hall of Fame in 2009, a club that remembered the spine he gave them, even if it didn't echo through banners or songs. Arsenal later named him among their 50 greatest players, but still, most fans couldn't name his number. He is included in Arsenal's massive Spirit of Highbury mosaic, a wall of faces, a quiet nod in a crowd, but not a statue, not a name that echoes. In 2023, Arsenal finally awarded him a Lifetime Achievement honor, a long overdue gesture, but it came in silence. No ceremony on the pitch, no chant rising at the Emirates. He gave the club shape. He gave it spine. He gave it something to believe in when no one else would. They remember the finishes, but they forgot the man who made finishing possible. There have been quiet fan campaigns for a statue, but none ever caught fire. It's like the world wanted to forget, and he refused to demand they remember. He didn't chase headlines, he didn't kiss badges, he didn't beg to be remembered. Frank McLintock held up a broken club and made it whole. He captained them through crisis, through failure, through silence, and when the medals finally came, he didn't ask for thanks. He carried the weight, he carried the room, he carried Arsenal. Others got the murals, he got the memory. But memory fades, and foundations don't speak, unless we make them heard. Frank McLintock, the double-winning captain, the forgotten spine, the man who turned steel into silver. Subscribe if you believe football should never forget the ones who carried everything and asked for nothing.